Welcome back to America's Retirement Headquarters, home of the Retirement Guys formula and America's Medicare Associates. 419-794-3030. That's the phone number. 419-794-3030. Online, arhq.com. A little earlier, we were talking about March Madness being upon us. 'Tis the season and all that. Another season that is less exciting and looming large is tax season, and it's a different game in retirement, as we talked about many times. For example, once you turn 73, Uncle Sam makes you withdraw money from your tax-deferred retirement accounts so the government can collect its taxes. They're called RMDs, or required minimum distributions. But here's the thing. What if it's forcing you to take out more than you actually need? Is there a way to work around that?
Yeah, that is a great question. What if I don't need my required minimum distribution? What do I need to do, right? First of all, there is some new news that's out there. So for those of you that are listening, if you're not aware of it, the Secure Act 2.0 was passed in December of 2022, and they did push back the required minimum distribution year yet again from 72 to 73. What I would say is it could be a trap, though. If you think about this, a retirement account is either the biggest or second biggest asset that somebody owns. And so delaying the tax problem may not be a good solution for you and your family, especially when you think about the amount of unfunded liabilities that our country has. In addition to that, the government is also making changes. They eliminated the lifetime stretch IRA for non-spousal beneficiaries, a.k.a. your children, because the government wants their money a little bit faster. They're looking at making these changes, and so delaying taxes really may not be in your best interest. To me, it's kind of like going home and, if I look at my kitchen sink, my sink is leaking a little bit, and, the solution, I think, is, well, I'll just close the cabinets and walk away because hopefully that problem goes away. And that problem will not go away. The problem with taxes on your retirement account may not go away either. So working with required minimum distributions, there's a couple different things. Number two, I would say a big thing that a lot of people don't realize is they have the ability where they can donate their required minimum distributions to a charity of their choice. Mm-hmm. A lot of people tithe when they go to church. A lot of people have organizations that are important to them, and they, donate their time and talents and treasures to. Well, you could have the ability where you could donate a portion of your IRA, your retirement account, after a certain age, directly to the charity. And then by doing so, what happens is that doesn't show up on your personal tax return, and the charity gets to keep 100% of it as well, versus if it went to you, you lose 25 or 30% in taxes. So that's an area. You can reinvest it just because you take it out. It doesn't mean that you have to spend it. You can open up an after-tax account. If you are blessed in a situation that you have a good pension, maybe other sources of income, that you don't need your retirement account, and your goal has changed to how do I go from being successful to creating significance. That significance could be with your kids or your grandkids, or again, an organization that's important to you. You can always look at leveraging it, maybe even leveraging it, because life insurance can be a very effective way to pass wealth on to multi-generations. If you ask the ultra wealthy, how do they, keep their wealth? It's keeping the government away from their wealth. Mm-hmm. And even in your own situation, if you don't have long-term care, that can be a good solution there too. We had met recently with a client, and what we decided to do is take a percentage of her retirement account every year. We repositioned a dollar amount each and every year for the next 10 years. And what it did is it ended up putting about a $350,000 long-term care protection shield over top of her assets. So in the event that she had some type of long-term care, she wasn't going in and eroding her retirement assets. She could use this life leverage plan. And then in addition to that, if she never needed the long-term care, that $350,000 would be paid out income tax-free, probate-free cash to her beneficiaries, because it's paid out in the form of life insurance, versus the traditional retirement account wouldn't have been. So I think there's a lot of different things that people can do when they're looking at their required minimum distribution, and they're wondering, what if I don't need my required distribution?
Yeah, I would agree. I think that The one of my takeaways from that conversation is how many people don't know that they have to take a required minimum distribution in general. And just because we're in the industry, I think sometimes we tend to just assume everybody speaks our lingo and gets the acronyms. But that can be a kind of a big kick for somebody at age 73 to know that their portfolio needs to sustain a 4 to 5% withdrawal. And so we talk about in previous segments that transition from the accumulation phase to the stages of retirement. And so when you hit that required minimum distribution age, you're in what we would call the mid-retirement zone or mid-retirement phase. And so we should be, starting to transition your investments from more growth to more income. Because again, if we can identify investments that can pay you that 4%, 5% income stream, that'll satisfy the required minimum distributions without having to sell your shares in a down market, that's going to help you preserve your account and make sure that it's going to last a lifetime. The other consideration too with required minimum distributions, I think, is it's a good opportunity to have a conversation and to revisit your estate plan. Like you said, Nolan, when you're giving assets to church, the 3 C's, we call it: church, charities, children. When you're starting to think about gifting and giving assets away, you want to make sure that you're doing it in the most efficient way possible. And sometimes gifting, dollars to church out of your checking account, that might not be the most efficient way to do it when you could actually gift monies right from your IRA and not pay any tax on those distributions. I think most people would agree that's probably more efficient, and leave the tax-free, the after-tax, the brokerage account, the individual stocks, leave those dollars to your children because they get a step up in the cost basis, and that helps to preserve taxes and preserve the balance as well. Scott, what do you think?
No, I totally agree with that. I agree with you, Chaz, because there's a lot of people out there that have no idea that they even have to take these, right? Mm-hmm. When Dad passed away, we moved some money over and set up an IRA for my mother, and she got a statement in the mail, and she says, "What's this? It says I have to take this money out. I don't want this money. I don't need it." So I promptly said, "Well, I do, and I'll take it." But she didn't buy that one, right? But no, I mean, she had no idea, and it doesn't surprise me. I would be curious to see what those numbers are on the number of people that don't really know they have to take those. And a lot of people have no idea what the required minimum distribution means and what it stands for. So, I agree. I love the idea of going directly to a charity, giving that charity the benefit of taking advantage of 100% of that money, and kind of passing off that tax, which is obviously always a good thing.
At the bare minimum, if you take nothing else away, and hopefully you do take more than this, but the R in RMD stands for required. Even if you don't need the money, Uncle Sam does, and they're going to make sure that you withdraw that money so they can get their cut. It's not to say that you just have to grin and bear it. There are things you can do to minimize what that is. Maybe doing some conversions right now, maybe looking at those qualified distributions to charity, things like that. There are ways to, again, make sure that Uncle Sam gets what they're entitled to, but not a penny more. And if you need help with that, the team at America's Retirement Headquarters, they're here for you. They can help you walk through the process. 419-794-3030 is the number. 419-794-3030. You can always schedule a time to speak with them online at arhq.com.